Today we're going to have a look at the Orient Kamasu. We're going to start with a short introduction of the company and have a look at a few of the interesting models they've produced along the years, and then we'll make a few observations about the watch itself. Orient can trace its roots back to 1901 when Shigeru Yoshida opened a shop called Yoshida Watch Shop in Ueno, Tokyo. This is in close proximity to where Seiko started its journey just 20 years earlier. If you're interested in that story, please click on the thumbnail to watch my review of the Seiko 5. The Yoshida Watch Shop was mainly known for importing pocket watches and producing wristwatch cases. From 1920, however, the company diversified into table clocks and gauges, but it was not until 1934 that wristwatches were produced. In 1936, the Hino factory was built in Tokyo, and that is where the company still resides. Due to the Second World War and the poor economy that ensued, Shigeru Yoshida was forced to halt production in 1949. In 1950, however, the company saw a revival under the name Tamakeiki Company, which continued to produce watches at the Hino factory, followed a year later in 1951 by another renaming to the Orient Watch Company. In the same year, the Orient Star was released, and in the late 50s, Orient gained the rights to sell watches in China, the US, Canada, and Iran. 1960 saw the introduction of the Royal Orient name, which can be thought of as the King or Grand Seiko equivalent of Orient. In 1965, the first Orient diver was released. This is the weekly Orient King diver. Orient has released a number of interesting designs. Some of my favorites are from the 70s, when the design language changed from more classically designed watches to more funky designs and names. A couple of examples are in the 1970s, the Chrono Ace Jaguar Focus, in 1972 the Mexican line, and in 1976 the multi-year calendar. Over the years, Orient has received the accolade of the watchmaker of contradictions, becoming well known for producing low-priced mechanicals for the export market and exquisite pieces for the domestic Japanese market. From 2009, the Orient Watch Company became a subsidiary of the Seiko Epson Group, and in 2017 it fully dissolved and absorbed into its parent company. The Kamasu is one of the few new releases from Orient since then, and I think perfectly illustrates the new strategy of the two brands as part of the same company. Namely, Seiko will move upmarket and will allow Orient to capture the marketplace previously occupied by Seiko cult classics. So in effect, the Kamasu really is the replacement for the SKX. The Kamasu comes in the familiar black Orient box with a metal plaque and 4 rivets on the top. There are 4 color variations: green, burgundy, black, and blue. I went for the burgundy. The case dimensions are 41.8 millimeters for the diameter and 12.8 millimeters for the thickness. The lug-to-lug measures in at 46.8. I think this is an extremely important aspect of the watch because it allows a relatively large watch to be worn by smaller wrists as well. My wrist is just over 7 inches or 18 centimeters, and I feel that even though this watch is slightly bigger than I normally would go for, it still wears perfectly. I would even say that it can be worn by wrists around 6.5 inches without any problems. The lug width is 22 millimeters. The bracelet has hollow end links and it tapers down to 20 millimeters. It is mostly brushed with polished sides. The clasp itself is a push button fold over with a security latch and the Orient logo stamped on it. When it comes to the watch head, we have a fairly simple design with polished sides and brushed on top. The relatively small crown is positioned at 3 o'clock and has the Orient crest lasered on it. The crown does screw down and helps the watch achieve 200 meters of water resistance. I do find that the crown needs to be a little bit bigger, as at the moment it is barely wider than the crown guards and quite hard to handle. In the unscrewed position, it also wobbles a bit. I'm not really sure if that would be visible, but it makes me feel that it is quite fragile. The Kamasu features a 120 click black unidirectional bezel and a lume pip at 12 o'clock. Unlike its Seiko counterparts, the bezel is aligned extremely well to my eyes. The watch face has an unusual shade of burgundy. It features applied hour markers and sword-like hour, minute and second hands. The lume on this model is very strong, making it extremely legible at night. The rest of the dial is completed by the applied Orient crest at 12 o'clock and the printed Orient name and the water resist indicator at 6 o'clock and its depth rating. The standout feature is the fact that everything is protected by a sapphire crystal on this model. The finishing on the dial is impeccable and any blemishes are hard to see even under magnification. The watch is powered by the F6922 movement, which is a collaboration between Seiko and Orient. It moves at a frequency of 21,600 vibrations per hour and has an accuracy of plus minus 15 seconds per day. None of these characteristics though make the Kamasu an obvious replacement for the SKX. There is one last detail, however, which makes this watch the spiritual successor for the legendary model from Seiko. It offers extraordinary value for money. I paid £190 for this example, and in exchange I received a true diver with 200 meters of water resistance, a sapphire crystal, in-house movement with hacking and hand winding, a day-date complication, and impeccable finishing. It is extremely hard to find more bang for your buck. The bracelet is a point of criticism, but I think it is fairly sturdy and adds to the charm of the watch. In summary, that is why I think that the new SKX is not made by Seiko. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe if you want to see more videos like this.